All right. So, hey guys, how you doing? We are
Hi.
broadcasting. So I have Leslie St. Louis and Corinne Kohlen. How do you say your last name, Corinne? Cohen?
Yeah, you said it right.
Okay, yay. They're two pro obstacle ladies. They're amazing. They're both moms, and they're going to share with us some tips for race week, and also we're going to look at some specific obstacles for the Fort Carson Sprint and Super coming up this weekend. Hopefully give you guys some insider tips on some of the obstacles coming up. So I wanted to ask you guys first, do you have any tips for race week? Like, how should we be training race week? Should it be like a taper? Um, should we be just taking it easy? Should we be going on some runs, working on grip strength, or, any tips for what we should do in the next couple days?
Corinne, do you want to take that one first, or do you want me to?
It doesn't matter.
Well, I think that's always the question. It's hard not to try to overtrain, but I just usually try to go on a couple easier trail runs and try to just do some stretching and keep my body kind of loose, but not add any like extra hard weights or do anything that might make me sore. And then I just try to eat really well too the week before and drink a lot of water.
Okay, thanks. That helps. What about you, Corinne?
Yeah, I agree with Leslie. Definitely eating well and drinking a lot of water. I would say like take at least 2 or 3 days off before the race, if not more, because you're not really going to improve your skill or your strength the week of the race, and you definitely don't want to get injured or anything like that. You kind of want to go in as fresh as you can.
Okay, that's great. No, that's good to hear, because I think sometimes people are like, oh, I need to work on some last-minute skills and, whatever it may be, like heavy carries right before the race. So
The only thing I would say that you could work on that might help is the spear throw, because you're not going to like get overly tired from doing that, but you could definitely improve that before. But yeah, heavy carries or like monkey bars or rope, not so much. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, exactly, Corinne, I agree. The spear throw, it does help to start right before.
okay, that's good. So second question is what to wear. Like, I get lots of questions about what should I wear, like pants or shorts. Like, a lot of the ladies just do the sports bra. Like, what do you guys recommend for this course, maybe more specifically?
I think Leslie and I are going to have different answers on this. I'm kind of like a minimalist, so I was usually like sports bra and shorts, but once in a while I would wear like a knee pads, just if you're anticipating a long barbed wire crawl, which Colorado military course usually has. And I think Leslie usually dressed a lot warmer than I did.
I get cold pretty easy, and in Colorado, you never know what the weather's going to be. So I think even if you plan on not wearing a lot, I think you should just pack like a beanie and like a cold gear shirt and some like cold gear pants just in case, because this race is kind of at an unpredictable time, and we have literally gotten every kind of weather. But I mean, just me personally, I cover up more just because I think it helps. I feel more free to like roll on the ground, and I'm not worried. I just don't feel any of the rocks or mud or anything. So I usually, if it's not too hot, wear like long sleeves and like capris.
Okay, great. That helps a lot. Yeah, I saw that there was, I don't know, 2014, there was like an 800-meter barbed wire crawl. Is that right? Or longer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been some long crawls in the past, which like covered knees really help, in my opinion, for those.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So thanks, guys. I know that helps a lot. So I did a screenshot. And I pulled up some of the obstacles that will be at the Fort Carson event this weekend. So I don't know if you can see those, but I just wanted to go through a couple and maybe get some tips for getting through these. So let's see. I know a lot of people have questions about, well, the rucksack specifically, because I know that might be different for Fort Carson. It might be specific only to Fort Carson. That's just basically carrying a pack like up a hill and back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my biggest tip for any of the obstacles, honestly, is to not get rushed into choosing an obstacle without looking at it, because everything can be slightly different, especially the rucksacks. There can be straps that are broken, some that aren't broken. All the walls, there can be like a certain route that's a little bit easier or less muddy. I just definitely have the tip of just taking a few seconds and assessing all the obstacles and picking the one that looks the best before you do anything.
Yeah, I agree
Okay.
with Leslie, especially on the rucksacks. One year, the men's and women's were not marked, and so lots of the women ended up grabbing the men, and lots of the men ended up grabbing the women's, and the men's rucksacks were just like incredibly heavy and so hard to carry. And then she's totally right about getting one with good straps too, because you're probably going to have to carry it over the biggest hill out there, and having good straps is really going to help.
Okay, yeah, I never would have thought of that to actually like take a moment, especially if you're racing, like you just want to grab something really quickly and move forward as quickly as you can. So thanks, guys. That's a good one.
And even
What
the
about?
well, even any of the obstacles though, even like the Hercules hoist or the spear throw, even the barbed wire crawl, like just like take a minute and pick a spear that's not broken, or pick a Hercules hoist that's not totally wet, like maybe one that's dry that looks easier to hoist up. I mean, it really comes in handy with any of the obstacles.
Okay, good. What about the Atlas carry? I know there's like a technique for lifting that massive like stone off the ground. Are there different weights for men and women for the Atlas carry?
There's definitely different weights. I think with picking up any heavy weight, just not using your back to do it.
Yeah, do your best to keep your knees bent and use as much power from your legs as you can, because those are really heavy, at least for me.
Yeah, and they
Yeah,
typically have.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, they typically have tires. I don't see it on the list, but sometimes they have tires, and it's the same technique where you would want to put your shoulders into it and use like your legs to push it versus your back.
Okay, yeah. No, I was gonna ask. So the tired, number 16 on the list. Is that the tire flips, or is that something different?
Turd.
Turd. Oh. So
I,
what is that?
no, I think it's something different. I think it's like this giant thing that's made out of like metal scaffolding type stuff and like cargo nets. I think they've had it in Temecula one time, and if it's what I think it is, it wasn't very hard. It was just
Is it,
up and over, like over this cargo net, like laddery thing. I
or
think,
Corinne, could that be like a T-yard, like those little T-frame obstacles that you just have to climb over?
yeah, maybe. I should ask Josue. I just left the room, but
Yeah, that's funny. We all have different names for it. Like I thought it was tired, like tires.
yeah, they had one in Temecula that I swear that they called the turd, but
Man, okay. Yeah, I was. Okay, that's good to know. Um, let's see. Any others in the list you think people have problems with that you guys might have tips you could share that could be helpful?
um, can you show the list again?
It's up
Well, I
there.
think with the barbed wire crawl and that, I mean, a lot of people don't know to roll under the barbed wire, or if you're rolling one way and you get dizzy, like kind of switch your directions of rolling, or just kind of scoot, just so that you're always moving.
Yeah, I agree. I think the TYRD, that could be tired also, like as in the tire flip, but I don't.
Um,
Um, Other obstacles. Sometimes they have the Weaver. I don't see the Weaver on the list, but
yeah,
um, they have the T walls or the Z walls, the rock climbing traverse thing, and I would say keep 3 points of contact on that at all times. Like 2 arms and 1 leg or 2 legs and 1 arm. Like, really be careful with your foot placement on that, especially if it comes after a muddy section where it could be really slippery. I've never fallen off that ever, except one time in Colorado. It's the only time I
Oh
felt that.
no.
It's just because the mud there is really slippery mud. You really have to be careful.
Corinne is the wall champion. So you need to give some more tips, Corinne, because you're really good at that. I mean, she's so fast at that.
Well, usually it's not too bad, but the Z design is harder for some people. I think holding your body really close to the wall is helpful. Like, don't have your shoulders far out or your hips or your butt kind of far out, but kind of suck your entire body close to the wall. And again, like, same going on kind of what Leslie said, like, take your time. Like, don't rush it. Even though you are racing, it's better to take your time and move through it and kind of like pick your wall wisely. Look at a wall where the handholds maybe aren't that far apart, and that you see people completing, versus one where maybe lots of people have been falling off. Because they place those holds pretty randomly, and they're not all the same for sure. And also, I'm a right-hander, so my right arm is stronger than the other, so I like to go across the wall with my right arm first. And so for me, I can choose a wall where I can get on it and move across it with my right arm first. If I choose a wall where I have to move across it left arm first, because you know they make them both sides of the wall, it's more difficult for me. So that could be the same for other people. If you're right arm dominant, choose a wall that's facing so you can move right arm first or left arm first if you're left arm dominant. I think that helps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a really good tip, because I would have thought about that. And you know, if you do any rock climbing or bouldering, I'm trying to think back, like, what do I do? Which way do I tend to go? You know, what direction am I a little bit better at? So I don't know. I'll have to get out there and practice that.
Yeah.
For the bucket carries, it's helpful to not use your fingers on the bottom, like to if you can lock your arms around it and like hold one of your arms around it, kind of lock your arms, then it is less on your forearms and your grip, because you just have to keep in mind you need your grip for later.
Yeah, I agree, for sure. Use your arms, and I guess if you're a man or a woman, but you can use your hip too. Like, kind of lean the bucket on your hip a little bit. They don't let you put it on your shoulder anymore, but you can lean it on your hip, or even like lean it on your stomach a little bit and lean back and carry it. But yeah, locking those arms.
I'll even like put my leg out like in a lunge position almost, and like just rest there for a second, because it's a lot easier to rest that way than to like put it on the ground and then try to pick it back up.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to put it down and then pick it back up again. And fill it like a little bit more full than you think you need to, because depending on what it is, if it's pebbles or dirt, but it usually will settle, especially if you're stopping to rest. Like, I think the more you stop and rest and kind of the bumpier the trail is, the more the rocks or pebbles are going to settle. And if you have a strict volunteer at the end of that, I've seen them make people go back and refill their buckets, and that's something you don't want to do. You don't want to have to go back and do that thing again.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This course looks like it's a forearm burner for sure.
Yeah, I would say so.
Last year they really stacked a lot of obstacles together that by themselves wouldn't have been challenging, but together they were challenging. So they had a lot of walls, and then they had the Hercules hoist, and then they had the Atlas carry, and then they would have like the climbing wall right after it. So it was just a bunch of forearm and kind of grip strength things all stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, it looks kind of similar this year. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking that forearm strength is going to be key for this race.
Yeah.
The rolling mud dunk and the slip wall. I don't know. I'm sure I've done those, but I didn't really know the names of those. Is that just like a...
I think the rolling mud dunk is where you're in a rolling mud, which is like a semi-deep watery mud hole, say maybe like up to your shoulders deep, and then you have to dunk under like a wooden framed wall, so that you have to put your head all the way under. and you come
Okay.
up on the other side. It's like a barrier, like in the middle of a rolling mud, that forces you to like
Mhm.
fully submerge. That's what I think it's going to.
Mhm.
And then with the slip wall right after, once people come out of those rolling muds and they're just like super muddy, the slip wall can actually be pretty hard, where it's normally not the hardest obstacle out there, but the slip wall can be pretty hard. I would like say advice for that is like what I sometimes do is you can hold on to one rope and actually stand on other ropes. The other ropes are more grippy than the surface of the wall itself, so if there's other ropes there, you can use your feet to stand on other ropes. And again, pick your rope, like Leslie says, like pick your rope wisely. Sometimes they have ropes with knots, sometimes they don't. Pick a rope that has knots in it. Pick a rope that's not as muddy as the other ones. Um,
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about now. Slip wall is kind of like that wall that's slightly at an incline, and then there's ropes hanging off the front.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
yep.
was looking at your list. There's number 8, the multi-rig. So I did Montana last weekend, and they set it up different every location. But from talking to people, it sounds like recently they've been doing where they'll put a ring and then a rope and then a ring and then a rope. And if you just completely skip the ropes, like just go from one ring, skip the rope, and go to the other ring, it actually makes it a lot easier to get through that obstacle.
Oh, okay. And is that legal as like an elite racer? Are you able to do that?
Yes. And they
Okay.
said also that you're not supposed to use your feet to ring the bell, but last weekend in Montana, all the volunteers were screaming at me to use my feet to ring the bell. So I guess that's my other piece of advice is when in doubt, just do whatever the volunteers say, because whatever they say pretty much goes.
Okay, yeah, that seems like conflicting information because there's been a lot of like social media about banning the kick with the feet, so that would be confusing.
Hmm. Yeah, just ask the volunteer because they'll defer to that, especially if you're running elite. Just do whatever the volunteers say, um, pretty much.
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree. The volunteers don't necessarily always know the rules correctly, but if they're all saying the same thing, you've got to go with it because all the competitors are going to be doing it. Like all the elites before you, I'm sure, kicked the bell, whether it was allowed or not. So you kind of have to just go with what the volunteers say.
Okay, good to know. All right, no, that's really helpful. Like all those tips and the obstacles are gonna help everybody, I think, a lot for race day. One more question. What about like race morning? Anything specific you guys like to do to prepare yourself? Like how early do you like to get out there and warm up? Any tips for race day?
I think
Well,
Leslie, you'd take
Oh,
this
go ahead.
at least most of it.
Well, something new I've been doing that has been working for me, but this was mainly for longer races. But I've been waking up like you guys are going to think this is crazy. So I've been waking up like 3 hours before the race, and then I'll eat something like a bagel or like whatever I was going to eat, like um, a bar or something, and then I'll go back to sleep. And then when I wake back up, like in Montana, I ate like half of like a Cliff Bar, and then I went back to sleep. And then when I woke up, usually on race morning, you don't wake up 3 hours before race morning, and you're nervous, so it's hard to eat. But if you've already kind of eaten something ahead of time, it's just already in your system, and it's already kind of like a little bit digested. And then I only had like another half of a bar to eat. And actually, it worked out really good. And that worked out well, too, in Tahoe, just eating like 3 hours before, and then race morning, just having something kind of like just something little.
okay, and what about like for the super? You know, it's like 9 to 10 miles. Do you bring nutrition? I wasn't sure if there are aid stations for water or anything.
I think it depends on how fast or slow you're trying to compete the race. If you're trying to go elite, I probably wouldn't bring nutrition. But if you're more just trying to get through it, or you don't know how long it's going to take you, maybe you've never done one before, I would probably bring something. Like if you're not trying to place, I would probably bring something. You could always decide not to use it, but They don't often have nutrition at the booths. Like it's like a treat if they do. You're like, oh my gosh, a Cliff Bar or something. And same thing with water. Even though they offer to have water at the booths, they can run out of water. They can run out of cups and stuff, and you never know what's going to happen. I would say bring, unless you're running like elite and just trying to go as fast as you absolutely can, I would bring food and water. But I don't know what Leslie would say.
I usually just bring a few things that I can carry with me. I feel like it helps me, but it also might be mental too, just like a little extra boost like halfway through the race or something.
Okay. And Corinne, what about you for race morning? I didn't get to ask you your answer for that.
Morning? I don't know. For race morning, I kind of try to eat the same thing that I would eat at home. Like I don't eat anything different. Like if I eat cereal at home, I would eat cereal on race morning, or like if I have bread or toast at home, I have that on race morning. I kind of stick with what I know. I too probably eat at least 2 to 3 hours before the race, and then but I'm not very good at sleeping, so I can't go back to sleep. But then and then eat like a little something right before, again, maybe just a little snack or something like a half a banana. I don't do too much of like a warm up, but like kind of a little like light stretching helps. And like as far as dress is concerned, I usually end up racing in like shorts and a tank top or a sports bra, but I almost always will bring like a sweatshirt and pants and wear those like right up until the last minute, because sometimes it's really cold on race morning, so I'll like even wear my sweats and sweatshirt like in the race corral up until they're like about to let us go, and then I take it off and hand it to a friend if you can, or tie it around the railing of the race corral or something. But I try to like stay warm right up until we start, because it's usually pretty cold in the morning there.
Yeah, I think it will be. All right, well,
I would definitely recommend getting there at least an hour ahead of time, because it's pretty slow getting in. Last year there was a big traffic jam and people got really close to their wave times or even missed their wave times. So just arrive. They say an hour, but I would say for Colorado, try to get there like at least an hour and a half or 2 hours, because it takes a long time to get into that venue.
Yeah, I don't know. Are they still checking like IDs and sniffing packs and stuff? Because other years they've like checked our driver's licenses, and then every pack we brought in, they had like search dogs sniffing them, and that like added to the time. I don't know if they're still doing that or not, but
last year they didn't. They actually completely changed the location screen, but it's still on base, but it's not where they have your registration. But instead of the sniffing dogs, there was just one dirt road leading into the race venue, and it got so congested, and it was just bumper to bumper at like 6 in the morning or something.
yeah, get there early.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, all right. Well, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. I know, Leslie, you probably got to head off to school soon, and Corinne, you got a little guy to take care of. So, Leslie, are you racing this weekend?
Yeah, I'm just racing Sunday this weekend. My daughters have some activities, and so I'm racing Sunday.
Okay. And then, Corinne, I know you're kind of in recovery from having a baby, but when's your first event you're gonna
Well,
compete in?
I might go to Monterey just because it's close to our house. It's June 4th. I won't be at like racing level, but I'll be at participant level. So I'm hoping to do Monterey and at least do it for fun. So we'll see.
Oh, fun. How old's Benjamin now?
He's 3 months.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's good timing.
Yeah.
Back into it.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much. This is going to be so helpful for everybody. I'll post this later on that Facebook group I created. And Leslie, I am racing Saturday, so I won't see you, but we need to catch up sometime.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Kick some butt out there.
Thanks. I know I've had a cold for like 5 weeks, so we'll see. I'm still at the tail end of it, so it's been a little bit of a damper on my training, but I'm excited.
You're going to do great. Thanks for taking the time to do this with us.
Oh, yeah, no, thank you guys. All right. Well, I will hopefully see you guys sometime soon. Maybe at Brock.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good morning.